All right, folks, another week, another recap review show here at Big O Belt Media. We're getting ready to jump into episode 2 of Power Book 4 Force Season 2. This episode is titled Great Consequence. Let's make sure we get the director and the writer, their love for the episode. We have Carl Seaton as the director and ChanaeChapman as the writer of this episode. Lucas and I back each and every week doing what we do. Give me that recap review show. You know, that thing that y'all be looking for. Y'all be feeding for each and every week. Sir Lucas, how you doing today?
Fiending more than Jenard fiends for money at this point. My guy, this show slinging like a Tubi movie. What's that little clip we showed? You want to know how I pay for all of this?
Yo, nah. Y'all want us to start doing Tubi reviews? We really be serious about it, but you know, time get the better of us, and we end up just not having more of it to do it. But I swear, but yeah, episode 2, folks. Great Consequence. Hopefully, you enjoyed last week's recap review show. Love the comments per usual, and all the other content of this season as we got our live stream going with our special guests, and we're going to keep doing it each and every week. Lucas, I told you I was going to bring the Air Diamonds out today, right?
Wow. No.
Then I tell you I was going to bring my Air Diamonds with me today.
Wow. Wow. So have you just served 15 to 10 also? And that's
man,
why you got to...
Man, I don't even know what StockX is, but I know they're more than 150.
hey, way more than 150.
But let's start on the top of the episode here. We got Jenard. Well, there's a couple of things happening first, but first off, we got the yeah. Let's start at the very, very top of this episode. We have the cops on the scene from the Chewy murder, where we seen last episode that Tommy put him down. We will talk about that a little bit more between Tommy and Diamond. Actually, it's right after this, but it's good to see just how the streets of Chicago work. I think there's assumption, and I think there may be actual truth, but let's just call it what it is, that the police are playing. There's two different stylings of police in Chicago. As we've seen the one cop talking about with his street code, you know how they are. They're not going to give up anything. And then we have the other cop that's kind of like, if you're going to survive, you have to adapt. You have to know what the code of the streets is. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really feeling the law enforcement sort of arc thus far in this season. I'm not really caring about them setting up the task force. I'm not really feeling what the local PDs are up to. But for the sake of our recap review show, and in case something I'm not probably looking into, what is your thoughts about how we're seeing the landscape of the law enforcement so far?
It started off weak for the beginning of the episode because I'm not accustomed to a cop saying know how to work the streets and understand that they got to live by code and you got to respect that. I literally never heard a cop say you have to respect they live by code in the streets, because the code in the streets normally leads to lots of murders. So that was an odd thing to respect, but it became more interesting by the end of the episode when we realized one of the lead cops is, I want to say, married to the person who's attempting to put together this task force. That is interesting because that adds a dynamic one that we've not seen in Power before, where we have the lead person who's going after Tommy being a person, the woman who's putting together the task force,
Stacey Marks.
Also Stacey Marks, and then having her husband be the cop on the streets.
Yeah,
like that is an interesting dynamic because I think eventually they're going to bump heads a lot on how things should go, and how business should be operated. So at first, it was stereotypical white cool cop stuff and respecting the code of the streets, and then we get the new Angela coming in trying her best to set a case against Tommy. But then when you blend them two together, you get a very interesting dynamic on what law enforcement will look like in force.
Yeah.
because that is not something, again, it's something we haven't seen in the previous seasons of Power or Power Ghost or even Kanan. We've not seen this type of dynamic before.
Yeah.
So I got interested in the cut it short. I got interested by the end of the episode in what law enforcement was going to do.
Yeah.
And then they even killed the black kid. Do you know that is one of the biggest tropes since Lethal Weapon 3, when Danny Glover had to shoot that gang member because the gang member had killer cop bullets? Like, since that, it's been a trope that if you kill a black kid and you care, it's amazing what the police would do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we know Chicago, that's not real life because they kill a multitude of black kids every weekend and no one cares.
Yeah, true. And also, like, they use it for the initiatives of things they want to accomplish behind the scene, but do they actually care about the kid being killed?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Nah.
It's just leverage.
Nah. Folks die every day, B.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately.
And the cop I'm talking about here is DeFranco. So let me make sure we get these cops' names for each and every episode. Again, I'm just kind of uninterested so far, but I do agree, and much why I wanted to start off asking you that. But I should also preference that there's some very important things that need to be discussed in this episode. Number one, everybody getting that Stars contract waiver in. Everybody was busting moves in this episode, huh, man?
Hey, look at Jenard's like, look, give me my second scene early in the season. I'm trying to do this quick. Even Claudia was like, man, let me get this in real quick. Let me show the difference between having someone, excuse my language, and that's odd for me to say that here, but excuse my language, from the difference between being fucked and me fucking somebody. Because damn. When we get to that scene, I'm gonna talk about it, but goddamn.
Yeah, Claudia also too was the first person last season, so Claudia didn't waste no time executing Stars contract waiver order number 1. So
and then wasn't Jenard early last season too?
I don't think so. I don't think Jenard did at all. Cause that was kind of his thing. That was kind of his thing. Keep running, chasing after the woman, but nobody wanted him. By the way, speaking of another theme, I realized is that this episode, while the synopsis says Tommy and Diamond hustle to keep CBI's game ahead of Jenard's new fraction on the streets, and Tommy makes solo moves to avenge Liliana's death, which led me to realize that this episode is truly about two white boys seeking revenge for their murdered women of color.
Yes. Yep. Vic and Tommy.
Yep. So that's it. That's all we need to talk about.
Hey.
Catch y'all back for next week, episode 3.
Hey, once they leave that Caucasian swimming pool and go other places, boy, do they get hooked. Tommy ain't been with a white girl since Holly was killed.
Yep. And listen, one more episode of Vic gonna be off the Henny. Bet it.
Hey, I thought I would have sworn everything in me that when he went to that liquor store, he was gonna grab a bottle of Branson, and I was gonna say, nigga, if you throw that joint to your head like that, dog, you're not waking up the next morning.
I bet you 50 was like, listen, I get it, product placement, but nah, you don't drink my shit like that.
You damn sure don't. My guy here was sipping it and woke up with a hangover. Like you don't guzzle Branson at all. Not a little bit at all, Joe. Yeah.
So Tommy and Diamond, they chop it up. We caught Diamond early, getting it in, and Diamond getting it in with a cop. By the way, we'll talk about it, but I mean, like, you had to literally not be paying attention to realize that it was a cop later on when Diamond got arrested. But Diamond with the cop, which should be interesting how Diamond's going to use that towards his advantage, knowing that his PO is on his ass the entire time. But Tommy walks in on him, and Tommy makes it very clear they got things to discuss. But more importantly, the question to throw to you is, who was right here now in retrospect between Tommy and Diamond about how Chewie was handled? They both had their positions on it, but obviously the landscape and another thing that's really important about this episode really quickly is that a lot of characters feel very righteous about their decisions, only to find out that every action has a reaction, and every action has some form of repercussions or chain effect to something else that they can't account for. And we'll specifically talk about the Serbs later on. But just looking at this right now, and if you could kind of draw the whole diagram around this, when you look at what Tommy did in revenging Chewie, and killing Chewie to make sure that no one thought they were weak, number one, and to set a standard across the board for everybody. But Diamond obviously was very opposed to that and wanted to go about another way. Just what's your thoughts about this and like who was right?
It shows the disconnect of Diamond, the disconnect that was shown last season between him and Jenard. You can't allow in their business, you can't allow disrespect to go unchecked. And Chewie was extremely disrespectful and then turned his back on you. And Tommy's right. If he does it and lives and gets away with it, what's stopping the next person from doing it? But Diamond is more of a peacemaker at this point in his life. I would love to see something, or at least to give a hint of the person he was before he went to prison.
Okay.
Because this is it feels like another consequence of him going to prison, of him thinking it's a better way to handle this. But in turn, you're kind of going against what the cop was talking about, which is street code. There is no better way to handle this. That's not something you can talk your way out of it. That's not something you have to worry about. This could start a war. Clearly, we saw when he went and talked to Jenard that was never going to be an option. When he told Jenard, like, if you start it, this is something you can't finish. This is something you can't handle. And Jenard immediately understood what he was saying. And it's because that's the code of the streets. Tommy was 100% correct here. He had to die. There was no other option for that, because it's different from just being disrespectful and being disloyal. He literally left. He got your drugs and left the organization and went with a competitor of yours. But to Diamond, as we see in this episode, which was really shocking when he went to go visit Jenard, that's still his brother. So no matter both of them trying to get each other hurt, that's still his brother. And he's still treating it that way. Versus Tommy, who's treating it the way you're supposed to treat on the streets. Like, hey, you turned on us, you got to go. We got to show people that it's a consequence for you doing this. So clearly Tommy was correct. I understand what Diamond's angle would have been, but I also understand it's only that way because of him being in prison. And I think because of his PO being on his back, that he's not willing to go that extra mile. And again, it's against his brother.
Yeah. I said it last week. I said that regardless of what happens, I mean, they're brothers. And I still think Diamond has a level of love for his brother. He knows he's way out of his league. Jenard is doing everything possible to prove that he belongs and trying to be on the same level and command the same respect as Diamond. But at the end of the day, I think even with Jenard kind of being, schooled later on in the episode, he understands the streets, but also I think he just knows, like, man, when his brother puts his foot down, that's just what it is. It was nothing to be debate. And like right now at this point of the episode is when Jenard put the green light on Tommy. He said, listen, kill Tommy in retaliation of Chewie. And now all the soldiers on his squad is like, all right, let's do it. That's what it is. Only for him to, retract that command later, and all of them are all in flux. Like what do you mean? Like, so we'll talk about it a little bit in a second. But we got Vic at the grave, and Tommy approaches him, and it's all about trying to figure out who killed Liliana. But Tommy's also filling out what Vic's stance with the family, also trying to like have a moment of like commonality, but also like solidarity, I guess it's it, by saying like, he's been there, he's lost somebody and whatnot. But also, Vic makes it very clear he's not messing with his sister. Tommy also kind of gives him that advice, that almost like that big brother advice, like, man, start your own operation or come work for CBI. A little bit of recruitment going on here.
I about to say, he was clearly pulling his Suge Knight.
Yeah. Do you think
Vic,
do you think Vic would have any significance in CBI if that was a thing?
No, there's too many white people. We got one. Don't need two. That's no one's going for gentrification of CBI. No. Because Vic is a lost puppy at this point. Like he can't function at all on his own. Here is just Tommy. We at least we get to see the terms that them two are on. Because remember, initially he blamed Tommy for Gloria's death.
Yeah, and
now we understand. He fully understands it was Walter who did it. Now we see him treat Tommy differently. Because in the end, he still knows Tommy also loved her and cared for her. So they have at least that in common. But here with Tommy trying to recruit him, it was funny because there was no way that Vic is the type of person who would never turn on his family. No matter what his family does, he's not going to turn on them. He would prefer not to do anything than to turn on his family.
I don't know, man. I think Vic truly, we know in the episode that Vic is truly going after his father, but I also think that he doesn't want to completely destroy the family because he knows there's a position for him available if Walter's gone, and he inherits everything. He becomes the new heir to the heir to the throne. Yeah.
He outpo. There you go. That's what he's trying to outpo his dad, or Rico, if anybody who remember paid in full.
And at this point now, I believe that's what Dublin probably wants in more ways than enough. But we'll talk about it. But so beyond Tommy clearly just trying to do some recon and figuring out who killed Liliana, Vic wants to know who killed Dahlia, and Tommy very much is like, "Well, if I hear something, I'll let you know." Type of comment.
He gave him the same response
exactly that he gave him,
basically saying, "Oh, I did it." Because that's what Vic basically said. Like, no, I know who did it. I'm just not going to tell you. And Tommy's like, oh, I know who did it. I'm just not going to tell you. Like, it's the same response to let him know, like, clearly I killed it. Like, she's not my partner anymore. Why would I allow that to go on?
Yeah. Vic, lost puppy. We'll figure out. We'll talk more about him in a second. But somebody else who's also out way deep in the water than they should belong is Walter, who's in deep trouble with Devlin. One, because he's not bringing in the money he used to, but Paulie sets up a deal or meet that makes a deal where Walter buys a bad batch of pills in which he intends to sell to pay off Dublin. He gets 100,000 of 100,000 pills in order to do so. Now, there's a lot discussed here. Without making this all long-winded, what did you think about this whole setup of the scene? And before you actually get into like the ramifications of stuff, what did you think about Paulie? And as this character slowly but surely is becoming more resourceful over the season now. Yeah. Where do you see Paulie's end game in all this? Because Paulie right now, I just want to say, he obviously knows the threat of Dublin. Yes. And Dublin made it very clear, we'll wipe your entire family off the map. And Walter's not even sure wasn't even sure that could even happen. Paulie honestly does. Paulie been warned it in the first place, and here we are. So I think not only is he being resourceful because he can, but I also think he's trying to cover his ass as well too. Well, but what's your thoughts about Paulie in this?
Well, Dublin told Walter they would wipe his entire family off the map. Ain't got nothing to do with Paulie.
Shit, he might be guilty by association, sir. He's right there. As a matter of fact,
he may be the next man up. Because if I get rid of Walter, I still need somebody that knows the operation, knows how to run an operation, which Paulie knows how to do all of that. So sure, take Walter out. Wouldn't the logical next person be Paulie?
It's not that I have any experience in this, but I wouldn't even risk it because Devlin could easily send somebody else over.
You could send someone over, but they still wouldn't understand the landscape. So they would need someone to show them the landscape. One thing Paulie is that I'm not going to say the word right. Conciliage. I got close to saying it right, but it's that other person who can understand the way the business should be run, give you the players in the business and how to run the business. we rarely see that person rise to the number one. But with the deals that Walter is making and the issues Walter is having, Paulie would not logically be the next person. So I think Paulie's just playing it safe. I think he still cares for Walter a lot. So he's trying to give him advice, but I think he's at the point of understanding that Walter's not listening the way he needs to listen. Even when they made the deal for those pills, which bad pills aren't that big of a deal because just like bad Coke, it can be cut up. It's very simple. You cut the pills up, repackage the pills, and you can still make money off of it. But Paulie was very adamant of saying, you don't have your kids in your corner. Because remember, Walter's not into drugs, really. You don't have your kids in your corner. You need them to be able to do this because you don't know what you're doing with this. You don't know who to sell to. Down to Walter saying, I'm not selling to my people. That should have never even been a question of who you're selling it to. Clearly you sell to the blacks and the Mexicans. Like, it's not to be racist, but it's to be realistic here that you're going to go out of whatever your normal network is to move this product. And then you cut it up. But then because you are just out of place in this type of world, you need someone who fully understands what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the point that Paulie was making with him. And Walter's at a point where he can't turn down a deal. Like, he can't afford to turn down a deal. Like, Walter is Warner Brothers. Nigga, he's looking for Barbie. He need that big breakthrough hit. You can't turn down a deal. You got to take everything on humanly possible to try to turn a profit here. And I think that's the only reason we see this deal being made, because if Walter was in a good place, he kicks this off immediately and says, not a chance we're going to do this.
Yeah, season one Walter's not having this, but this is definitely a level of desperation. And beyond desperation, I really don't even think Walter can even have a mind of his own, because he's just so deep in the water that he doesn't have the support of his kids and the financial thing and with the financial thing is making him evaluate his assets in a different way. You know, Paulie said it last week, said, man, listen, you sell some stuff, we good. He's like, nah. And we all know broke people and how they operate. So, you know, it's just on a higher scale. Plus you have Dublin looking, saying, bring us, get this money stuff right, or we're going to wipe your entire family off. This is a person, Walter, who probably never felt touched ever. And now it's threatened.
It's different between being just broke and being broke on consignment. Completely different things here. Because you only get that work on consignment. And at that point, you got to pay somebody back. What do you do? Walter and Jenard are in the exact same boat.
Not really. Well, Jenard is, I think, is in a situation that we're more accustomed to. Walter, I believe, is in the situation because, I mean, Jenard not only has to pay the Mexicans, but also the Mexicans answer to the cartel. And I think the cartel and their influence can, I put it this way. Miguel and Walter are in the same position. I'll say that.
I wouldn't say that because Miguel has no pressure on Jenard not paying him money. Miguel Miguel has to make sure that his money is in order, as the cartel is putting pressure on his neck, as we've seen them make that very valuable. The pressure they're putting on him is not necessarily about the work; it's about the business. Right. If that makes any sense. But for Jenard, his issue is supply, demand, and money. It's the exact issue
organization
that Walter has, because
loyalty. He has a lot of problems.
Exactly. But think about it though. You literally just said every issue that Walter has: organization, loyalty, and money. That is Walter's issue. He don't have money coming in, and he's going broke, and he has nobody who has his back. And that's where Jenard is in. That's what I mean by him and Jenard are in the same boat. Of course, it's on different scales, but that's equivalent of saying two companies going broke, but one is a small business and one is a mega corporation. They have the same issue, but it's just on different scales. So that's the difference between them two.
I see what you're saying. I feel like Walter's mindset to this is going to be different than Jenard, because Jenard is in it. Jenard has no business being in the position he is. Walter is in a position that he's never been in, and as a boss who's practically been untouchable for all these years, as far as we know, in terms of running in Chicago, now has pressure that not only affects him but his entire family. And we know he cares about Vic more than he cares about anything else. He doesn't care about Claudia. He doesn't care about Claudia.
Clearly, he doesn't care.
I think he loves her, but he don't care about her. But
again, I think that's the best way to put it, is that it's different pressures that Jenard and Walter go through, even though they're in the same issue, because one person shouldn't be in charge.
Yeah.
And one person is attempting to prove that they should be the boss, and the other person is trying to hold on to the point that they've been the boss.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like light skin Aunt Viv versus dark skin Aunt Viv. Like dark skin Aunt Viv had it. Like everybody knew she was Aunt Viv, but light skin Aunt Viv had to came in and prove that she could be Aunt Viv. That's Jenard. He's trying to prove he can be Aunt Viv.
Well, in the scene of surprises here, we have Claudia sleeping with Brendan Doyle. Yep, the Irish man from the Devlin crew. And then this transaction of fluids. Claudia is trying to really obtain some information about what what Devlin's up to, what's her whole goal. Also think she's trying to use it to her own advantage to kind of figure out how she can leverage this so that she can be of some significance. But she's a woman, she needs to remember that. And I'm not saying that in a sexist way, but that's just what it is. And Walter made it very clear. As Vic just immediately get released out of jail, completely incoherent, irresponsible, all these things that Claudia didn't said, all these things that Walter acknowledged that Claudia said was true, and still looked at her in her face and says, but it can't be you. Because you're a woman, you'll never be anything but a woman.
Claudia got to transition before she can run the family.
Yeah, listen.
And she better be the long son that no one knew about. Because that's the only way that can happen.
I'm telling you right now, Claudia's story arc gonna probably be the wildest this season, because I think
we
she has
just saw her fuck somebody for information. You should have pegged dude at this point, because clearly, like, I've never seen Power show that angle on the sex scene when you look at the woman's face and she's in complete control of everything.
Well, she's not interested. That's the thing. She's doing this for work, and this is
we're
exactly.
We're saying men do that. That's what I mean by that. Men do that.
Yeah, no, but this is what Claudia did last season with mine when she got Dahlia. Like she knows how to work her position. She knows how to work. She knows how to work herself around certain rooms to get what she needs, and this is no different. Let's just call it what it is. Braylon being part of this Devlin crew makes him the most dangerous man on the show right now, because he makes one call and the Flynns are gone. So he's there, get him some free action, and while he got buttered up, he gave information that we all knew, but I guess it just confirms to Claudia what's really the state of their family is that, listen, Walter's not doing good, by the way. He needs to bring in more money, or that's the end of the Flynn organization. The entire family is gone. So while she's there trying to figure out and get information on Walter, trying to figure out how Devlin's going to operate, this was a business move for her. Somebody else might have been having pleasure on the bottom there, but Claudia had no enjoyment of this. This is what she does. This is what she did with my last season to get Dahlia. This is her again trying to maneuver her way. She no longer has Dahlia. So, as I was going to say, Claudia slowly but surely becomes Tommy. And I say that in the way of, this is a person who has nothing to lose at this point. She can fall casualty to being a Flynn and being evaporated off the earth just because of her last name. Already has no significance in the family. Walter don't let her close to it. Yet, Walter's aware of what she can do and how she was moving Dahlia. So he knows the value. But Claudia also knows the value. Vic also knows the Claudia value. Other folks last season knows Claudia value. Everybody sees it.
Everybody
and knows
respects
it, but she's
Claudia
a woman.
but Walter. Everybody respects her but Walter.
In Dublin. In Dublin.
Well, I don't think Dublin matters here, because Claudia, it kind of makes me wonder, why did she reject Jenard's offer in episode
Beneath
one?
her. Guess
what? But see, here's the thing. it can't be beneath you when, nigga, you don't have anything. See, it's beneath her in ego because she thinks because she's a Flynn, she's important. What Walter told her in this episode is, as long as you have a vagina, you don't matter.
What was that basketball player that they offered a
Griner?
What was the basketball player that offered a max contract in Boston and he declined it?
Oh, in Boston?
Was it Boston?
In LA.
Dennis
Schroeder, when they offered him $84 million and then he signed a contract for $3 million. That's Claudia. Because she don't understand that your name for you means nothing because you're a woman. Amazingly, though, with Jenard, he would have given you way more control over what happens in a business.
Well, because Jenard can't control a goddamn to himself.
Well, no,
you're right.
We can say this.
Though.
We can say this up front, and I don't give a fuck who's offended by it. In Black organizations of this nature, women are more respected than in any other organization run by anyone else. POCs, people of color, whether it be Black, whether it be Latino, all that stuff, they respect women and the way they move more than our Italian or Irish brethren do. So she would have been respected by Jenard, and Jenard would have given her way more control over
1,000%. But also because Jenard really can't operate things and stuff. But listen, you went very PG on that comment because I thought you was really going to say what it is. But as you mentioned in every show, especially in Raising Kanan, that racism still very much exists in these other nationalities that
racism and sexism.
Yeah. We talk about, what Rock was dealing with. Like, they like Rock. Rock is sexy.
Yeah.
Rock runs her shit. But at the end of the day, they look at her and say, but she's still a black woman. Fuck her. Yep. Fuck her. Fuck that black Negro. And it's the same thing. In this sense that the sexism with Claudia is that it doesn't matter how much money. Literally, she could have saved the entire family last season for what she was doing with Dahlia. But Walter likes to do things his way. But at the end of the day, she's a woman. Should never get the respect.
Vic is a loose fucking cannon who said, I will come back in a family business if you get rid of Claudia.
Whoa.
And Walter dumbass said, sure.
Yeah.
What?
We're going to talk about that because I got my thoughts about that, but that is hilarious. It's completely hilarious, and it's true. It's
who
very
backs
accurate.
Little Bow Wow over Debrat? Let's be real here, because that's what Walter did.
So Diamond goes and sees his brother Jenard now. Funny thing with the pat down that his security is definitely whack because they couldn't even find his gun, and he said it was just right on his hip. What did you think about that?
Nigga. Like, are y'all joking? He had to direct you to where his weapon was at. Nigga, you started patting at his ankles. Like, who the fuck keeps an ankle holster on in the streets? He's not a cop. Like, it made. Oh God! Like this is why Jenard's gonna die if you don't hire better help. Because this is ridiculous. I ain't never seen somebody get a pat down and have the person who you patting down have to tell you where the gun is located.
Yeah. So Diamond tells Jenard that he knows he gave the order of his crew to kill Tommy. And then Jenard comes back and says, well, I know that he and Tommy sent the Serbs after him. So with that all being said, as we mentioned earlier, Diamond makes it very clear that you have to dead this right now with Tommy. Like, you don't want a war to come about that you ain't prepared for. And I think besides Diamond just being the educated street dude that we know him to be, that everybody said in season 1, it's just the truth that he just knows how to move his pieces on the board around Jenard before Jenard can even figure out what his own move is going to be. He gets it. He knows how his brother thinks before his brother knows what he's thinking. And if that pat down wasn't any indication that if you go to war, you're going to die. You're my brother. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to go out in a way that you thought you were actually going to do something when you never had a stake in the game in the first place. And then Jenard, much like the little brother says, man, when were you going to realize you should have picked me over Tommy? So it's back to the hurt feelings again. But Diamond made it very clear. I didn't choose Tommy over you. I chose the bank. Well, then that should hush you up, sir, because that's something you don't have right now.
Exactly.
And as he said, you're a grown man. Don't start a war where you don't have a shot in hell to win. Jenard looked completely lost. First of all, shout out to the film crew for really oh my god, why is the name keep slipping out? Always slips out of my head. Who plays Jenard?
Chris.
Who plays? Yeah, Chris Lofton. Yeah, thank you. And Chris really being able to emote in a way that made us very much. It's not even for debate here. Jenard got put in his place. He had nothing to say back because he knew when he heard the truth that it. First of all, it hurt, but it was what it was. You know.
hey, I know I'm the guy who gives weird analogies out of nowhere, but when I was watching this scene and the look that Jenard had on his face after Diamond said what he said, it reminded me of a song that Jay-Z did on Blueprint 3. He was talking about Benny Siegel. And he said, I'm not Santa Claus, so get off my lap. And Benny went on Drink Champs and said, when he said that, when he heard that line, he was like, damn, ain't shit I can do. Ain't shit I can say. That's how Jenard was, because at that point, he accepted that Diamond's 100% right. If I go into this war, I'm going to not only lose, but I'm going to possibly die.
Yeah.
Because Tommy is not someone who you can go into war with half-cocked. You don't have the soldiers for it. And he will kill everybody humanly possible to get to you if he has to.
Yeah. You know what else though? Like, Diamond also doesn't play Tommy up to his utmost, shall I say, his utmost of a resume that he has. We know Diamond knows, you know.
No, that's the key part. We have to remember that. Diamond doesn't know everything Tommy's done.
No,
he
I
only
get
knows
that.
what Tommy has done in Chicago.
No. I get that, but I mean, like, I would assume that Diamond has a sense of character about Tommy, knowing how he operates, knowing from being around him. Yeah, he doesn't know his past, but like you
know how he moves, but he don't know Tommy. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is that like he knows his brother and he knows Tommy and he knows that. Listen, Tyrone
this
Lue.
Ain't it. Exactly. Do not make Tommy step over you. Don't make Tommy step over you, because he will, and it won't be good for you. It won't be good for you. It's almost like when people would call themselves the Kobe stopper, and you're like, that's true, up until you play Kobe and you piss him off, and then next thing you know, 50, and you wondering what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
or again, I like analogies. Or because I just heard this one recently, when you had the college players come in and play the original Dream Team, and you had Rodney Rogers say to Larry Bird, "Oh man, you ain't hit a jumper since '84." And then they did another practice, and Magic Johnson fed the ball to Larry Bird 9 straight times. And 9 times he fed Larry Bird the ball. Larry Bird told Rodney Rogers exactly what he was going to do. Like, hey, I'm going to go to my left, off glass. I'm going to go to my right, straight buckets. And afterwards, Rodney Rogers looked at him and said, God damn it. Larry Bird said, boy, look like 84 all over again, don't it? That's what Diamond's fear is for his Jenard, is that if Tommy ever put a plan in place, there's nothing you can do about it. He can literally tell you, I'm going to kill you on this day. And there will be nothing you can do about it because you're not prepared for that type of war yet.
Yeah.
And I think what made this scene great is that in the end, it's still a conversation amongst brothers.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important part we can't ever forget or leave out, is that Diamond doesn't warn Jenard of this if he didn't love him.
Yeah. I also want to say that we know on social media that the power crews all hang out, and they're really a family. So when you have Isaac and Chris in a scene like this, you expect it to be great because it's very easy for them to be around each other. So it's got to be incredibly easy for them to work with each other. So like that scene and this, I'm saying that scene, but this scene really spoke a lot of volumes about these two characters, much like the people, that there is a sense of love and trust for one another. But in terms of the character, Diamond's letting Jenard know, listen, little bro, this is the one and only time I'm gonna tell you, just take a seat on this one. All right, leave Tommy alone. Don't start no war. Listen, you got to chill. Which we're gonna talk about the ramifications of this conversation later, because as I mentioned, even with this episode being called Great Consequence, it should have been great consequences, because there's consequences to everything that's being told, done or not done in this episode. And this is just one to say, what if Jenard was like, nah, fuck that, get out of here, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, you know? Or what if Diamond didn't go make this visit? Diamond easily could have just said, all right, whatever. He didn't stop Tommy. He pleaded Tommy to stop, but he didn't stop him. He went and told Jenard. He says, nah.
I think that was the ultimate sign that I need to go talk to my brother. It's when me and Tommy had a conversation, and Tommy still took it upon his own hands to kill this guy and say, hey, it is what it is.
Yep.
And he was like, no, let me talk to my brother, because clearly, as much as I want to believe me and Tommy are partners, I understand just how far Tommy's willing to go to protect his business.
Do you think Diamond to any means doubt Tommy's loyalty to CBI?
No.
Yeah,
because Tommy's not loyal to CBI. Tommy's loyal to the money.
Yep.
And at times you got to understand that's way more important than
although he's recruiting people to CBI.
Hey, I mean, even Phil Jackson recruited people to the Bulls. But you got to still throw the pitch out there to see what happens.
Yeah.
Hey, I said that was Tommy's Suge Knight move.
Listen, man, he could
everything you want.
This could be Pat Riley right now. This could be the next three down in South Beach here. We got
not two,
Chris Bosh,
not three, not four, not five.
Vic, Diamond, and Tommy. Listen, man. they
Chris
go.
Hold up. Who's Chris Bosh of the group?
Vic. Vic.
Hey, you was being nice there. Vic ain't even Vic is Mario Chalmers, man.
Or Booby.
Booby Gibson. Look at, hey. Oh, that's disrespectful. Oh,
Booby got Keisha Cole though, so that counts for something, right?
He had Keisha Cole. I saw her little Lifetime movie. He lost her too.
Yeah. And Keisha Cole's back too, by the way. Like straight off of that. Sad down bad is Booby Gibson right now. Booby probably in the big three for all we know. So let me stop talking trash.
Booby is not in the big three. I think he tried out and didn't make it.
You can't. No one cannot make the big three.
hey, it's a bunch of people that don't make the big three now. We're not gonna get disrespectful to them old athletes who technically can still ball. They just can't run a full court game anymore.
Yeah.
Look, they had Katino Mobley out there, John Ball, and Steve Francis ain't in the big three. That should tell you right there.
Yeah. I saw Steve Francis recently, by the way. Anywho, so we got Vic.
Rose Bar or
I'll leave it at that. Vic is still drinking. Things haven't changed since last episode here. But Walter goes and sees him, and he wants to know what to do. Walter's proposing to have Vic come back to the family and wanting him to distribute the pills for him. But Vic, my man, said, he ain't letting his father take advantage of him no more. Period. He tired of being treated like the little boy. And Vic says a lot of things that we all knew about him all last season.
Yeah.
And this is the one where he finally puts his foot down and says, no. So with that, we know Walter goes then to go ask Claudia, which that speaks volumes in his own. But to throw it to you, what is your thought about Vic putting his foot down and then Walter ultimately happened to get desperate in his own means to go ask Claudia, because that's what it is.
Yeah. But literally, he did that, got desperate, and went to the kid who he actually knew could run the business. Like,
and also,
part here.
Yeah, and also really quickly too, because Walter also co-signed. He said, "Listen, Claudia was the one that was making and distributing Dahlia with Tommy." So
yeah, like it's clear he understands what child can run it. He just has an issue with women. Like, so yes, of course, your loser kid comes to you and tells you, "I'm not doing it. I don't trust you." Blase, blase, and then you say, "That gives me the perfect excuse to go to the kid who I actually know could do this."
Yeah,
duh. Yeah. But I think it's still a conflict within Walter that I don't think will be solved. Is that he is terrified to step. At what point do we understand that Dublin is a threat that no longer respects you? And because that respect is not there anymore, you can now literally give your business over to the kid who you know can run it. Because the respect is already lost at this point. It was gonna be lost. It might as well be lost with a profit. Because Vic ain't gonna get you a profit. We done seen Vic now for 2 seasons not understand how to run business.
Yeah.
Claudia fully understands what it takes to do this. But you're terrified because she's a woman. At what point do you just back her and say, "Hey, if you respect me, or whatever little respect you have for me left, is going to go to my daughter because I know she can do this."
Yeah.
I mean, she's the next Griselda if you do it right.
Walter's in a bad position because at the end of the day, no matter if they respect Claudia or not, it goes to like, it's the same story as Game of Thrones here. Like, no matter who truly should inherit the throne, it's all about the politics here. And I think that Walter is very realistic about it. And what? Yes, we can call it sexism all we want, but I think it's just the rule of the family. I'm not saying it's right, especially in our 2023, but I'm just saying that like Walter, by all means, does play within the guidelines of the book. He never deviates from it, and so he knows Vic has to be the person. We haven't even discussed Walter's health, nor do we know what's up with his health thus far this season, but he knows he has to prepare Vic to be the next person. That's an automatic order from Dublin to say your son has to be the one. We already know the story about what happened with his wife and so on from last season. Vic has to get it together. He has to inherit the family business. He has to run it. Claudia does have it all. And you know what? It also makes sense why why Walter said what he said later on in the episode, like, to Claudia, you need to get right with your brother, because he knows he needs Claudia to rub off on Vic, to get Vic back in the game, but also to pass that knowledge. He needs them to work they need to be working cohesive together so that Vic can do what he has to do. But that's not good enough for Claudia, much like it's not good enough for Vic. Vic doesn't want to be in the business because he's still sad and all that other stuff. But Claudia doesn't want to be in the business and she's not the one running it. It's a horrible position for everybody. Honestly, they need to call in Jerry Springer, rest in peace, and have Paulie set the table straight and let folks know, like, listen, we're all going to die if we don't get this together. I hope everybody realizes that right now. All this little shit that's going on between the three of you, that ain't going to mean nothing when that plane lands, because we'll know when them tires hit the pavement. We're going to know. And it's over from there. There's nothing we can do. And we're on borrowed time because they have somebody here right now watching our move. Matter of fact, even with Brendan talking about Walter not bringing in enough money and that's making them upset, if Brendan reports the dysfunction in the family, or even the fact that Claudia may inherit the throne, it's over. It's a lot to really be worried about with the Flint family right now. And I think that's truly going to be the story this season. Tommy's going to do what he's going to do, and CBI and them going to do what they're going to do. The Serbs do what they're going to do. I expect some things we're like accustomed to in terms of the storyline, but seeing the head organization catch a threat internally in the way that we're about to see with them is going to be something different.
How hard will Claudia have to go to get the respect of Dublin? Because I can say this much for sure. What we understand about when powerful women take over organizations, it's because they went so hard that you had no other option but to put them in charge. Because
Like,
you saw like, oh, if she's willing to go this far, I care less about her being a woman.
like
she
Ghost.
is a threat.
Like
Yes.
Ghost in New York, where like the Serbs, I think it was the Serbs still then. Yeah, it was the Serbs where listen, they deal with Ghost because they know what he can do, but they don't fuck with black people. So the fact that he was literally running New York and as much weight as he can move, they say, all right, I guess we do got to do business then.
I mean, Claudia has to kill Walter.
I don't no. She can't kill
And
Walter.
Vic.
They're not gonna have that. Nope.
And Vic. She kill both.
She has to move. She has to move in territories that the Flynn's have never ran.
I think she can. That's easy for her. But if she was to establish businesses that still thrived and both of them were alive, she couldn't run anything. I still have a man in your family who should be able to do this. If she took out both of them too,
that's
first establishing their business and then taking both of them out, she's number one. And I don't think Dublin would bat an eye at it because they'll be like, oh, look at the business. The money's coming in. Because I think as much as Dublin doesn't want, and it's the same thing with Serbs with Ghosts, as much as I don't want someone that I deem as an outsider running stuff, if the money is coming in and your dominance is under control, I have no issue with it.
I don't see it that way. I think the difference here with the Ghost thing is that while there's racism there, but I think with this is like the order of the law. So again, much like Game of Thrones, like you're not going to allow a woman to have the Iron Throne regardless. And while there was moments of folks saying, well, I'm going to kill everybody to inherit it in a way that no one else can challenge me by fear.
Hey.
Claudia does not have the army to do that. But what I do think can happen is undeniably taking over parts of Chicago that the Flynn's have never ran, and that Devlin to report back to say, okay, first of all, the family, I'm not understanding why Claudia's doing what she has to do. We're going to come and investigate to figure out why that's happening. And I think the interesting thing and why she won't be able to do that is because we're also seeing from the other end that the cartel is getting ready to get involved, especially when it comes down to the Serbs. So you got like a lot of different parts happening, but I just think
the cartel gets involved with the Serbs aren't necessarily in business with Walter.
No.
Nor is the cartel in business with Walter. Walter's a separate entity.
Everybody has their territories. Everybody knows.
So then, if Claudia was to pull a power move and say, I'm gonna get rid of all of these people and I'm just gonna run it. I'm gonna get rid of my family. What are you gonna do? You think they're gonna let that power vacuum create? She can easily create
no army.
Who is the only person who's the only person in the Flynn's who has the potential of getting an army? It ain't Vic.
It ain't
Walter.
Thing.
It is Claudia.
That's the thing. Yeah, right. Because she's resourceful and she's willing to play ball. But that's the thing. Like the Flynn's don't want to move out of their territory. They just need to make more money. They need to get back to making their money. Things aren't moving the way they are. And also, it has a lot to do because what Dahlia was doing, what Dahlia was, no one was buying regular pills. No one was smoking Reggie now that all the exotic was out there. And I think that now that Dahlia's gone, now what happens? Now there's a new Dahlia, but also at the same time too, with this new Dahlia, which everybody all has the recipe, it doesn't make it exclusive as it used to be. Now you got these other pills that somehow, some way, they're going to have to market them in a way that doesn't make them just regular pills, which could be an attraction of folks, which also Claudia, with her resume, with her connections, also could move that in a way that may be reputable because they'll be like, oh, this comes from the same person who had Dahlia, So, listen, it's undeniable that Claudia is resourceful as we know it. It's just the thing that she has to be able to make connections, partnerships, relationships in a way outside of the Flynn network that Devlin has to notice and respect. And that's almost
not that they have to respect her connections, they have to respect the moves that she's making. I don't think the connections matter.
Right,
it's the moves that she makes.
Yeah.
But the person's out there for her to connect with. The moment she
Well,
realizes you're not above him. That's
yeah.
all it is.
And that's the thing. The streets don't know about the Walters' financial issues. They still like
No.
she's a Flint, so she gets the street respect. Here's the thing I think is going to happen. I think Brendan is going to take note of what Claudia is doing. I think, listen, the truth is in that room. Everyone know that Walter is not doing good. Soon Brendan's going to figure out Vic's lack of involvement or Vic's inability to operate it. Claudia, I believe, is going to continue to have pillow talk and to establish to Brendan that while my father does not allow me to do things and you all's dumbass rule book does not allow me to do anything, I'm still doing my thing. This is what I'm doing. Much like how everybody took note to Dahlia, I think that she may have to come up with something else unique or just make these connections in a way that Brendan gets so impressed that it looks that he reports back that the Flynns are making money, just not in the way you think they are.
Or we can even eventually go deep into the thinking of how big of a threat is Dublin. They sent their 4 best hitters and them niggas was dismissed rather easily. And they were mad at Walter because their 4 best hitters were just killed with ease.
Yeah.
At what point did Claudia say, you know what? Fuck all y'all. I partner with Jenard and I build an army with him. Because at this point, my money can fund him. If I fund him, I can easily take away business from Tommy. I can make sure that we're in good with the cartels.
They could use each other
and triple what we can do with the cartels, which would automatically mean the cartels will back her up before anybody else. Because cartels are very big on we're backing up the winner. We give a fuck who you are, as long as it's the winner.
That's true. That's true. It's gonna be interesting to see. There's a lot of little moving pieces, and I think episode 3 is going to be really telling. Why we speculate a lot on what's next, but I think they're going to truly pave in episodes 3. We know how episodes 3 are. They're always going to lay down the foundation of what this season is going to be. Episode 3, episode 8, episode 10 are always the big episodes that lets you know what's it going to be this season. The action-packed episodes here. Let's get back to going with things here, man. We've been talking so much. I don't even know where we are on my notes. All right, anyway, so Diamond back at the barbershop. His PO officer shows up, Mr. Reeves, and asks for a urine sample. Tommy's there to take note. Tommy tries to smooth this. First of all, I gotta respect Tommy for this because he saw his boy was in trouble, possibly. So he tries to smooth it over to try to give his boy some breathing room. But Diamond lets him know and says like, "Nah, this is my PR officer. Go ahead and roll out real quick." But I do think like while that could look like a goofy scene, I respect that because like Tommy isn't aware. So. Yeah, Tommy isn't fully aware, but he's like, I feel a level of distress with my boy. I need to do something, you know. If you ever see your boy,
old nigga line me up, because what the fuck?
Yeah,
you won't let the old barber ever touch your hair in the barbershop.
Nah, you just
I'm good. I'm good, my guy.
Yeah, it's like when you see
civil rights fades for years. I don't trust you. Like, nah.
He called that man Eminem. He's like, oh yeah, if I ain't heard that before.
See, and the best retort to that line when a white boy say Eminem like I haven't heard that before, just say, all right, Bubba Sparks. Like, how you want this? ML with MGK? How you want this? Asher Roth? Just go through all the white rappers humanly possible you can name. Except for Mac Miller, RP.
Yeah. Now we got one of the biggest scenes now where we got Tommy going to Miguel and this is just a regular visit per se in terms of bringing the money to get product, simple transaction as we thought, although they still off their no white boys allowed here, but Miguel comes out again. So listen, as long as the money rolling in, I don't care what color you are. As Tommy says, I'm sorry, but the persons in the bags are green, and that's all that matters. But we get Serbs rolling up with a drive-by. Did I pass some things? I think I did. So if I did, I'm gonna come back. But
no, that's when because right after Tommy and Diamond met, and Tommy had to leave because Diamond Diamond was supposed to go with Tommy to go drop the money off to Miguel. But that's when Diamond told Tommy, you got to handle this on your own. And that's when Tommy went to go see Miguel. And then that's when we do get
you know what?
a little quick interaction and then the gunfire.
Yeah. You're right. I was just some other little things. Yeah, Jenard getting a text. Getting a text from Miguel saying don't be late. So Jenard looking all crazy.
Yeah, he's scared. That was right after the situation with Diamond telling him like, you don't want war.
Yeah, and also Jenard also telling the whole crew that we got to pause on that Tommy shit. You know, he letting the folks know like
we
green
about
light.
That, so that's a good part.
Yeah. Also before the shootout, Walter and Claudia giving her the opportunity. Says he knows about Dahlia, was not upset about Dahlia. But Claudia lets her know that Vic is not good for us. He's not ready. He needs to mourn. And then Walter says he needs to be with his sister. So, you know, it's the thing. Like Claudia's still trying to be there for her brother, but also still taking directions from her father, but also is very, very much accurate about Vic is not ready. We all know it. You know it. He agrees and so on. But at the same time, Walter's trying to play peer mediator and trying to make sure that the siblings are on the same page and there's no tension, but so like go be with him, you know. But also that's his initiative of, again, as I mentioned, trying to get Claudia to rub off for him to get Vic back in the game, but also for him to try to get some of that knowledge that Claudia has, because him not being mad about Dahlia is truly him being mad about Dahlia because they went completely out of the order of to not do anything last season. But for the fact of like realizing that it is valuable, it became a threat. It probably did hurt his finances and whatnot, which means she's also sitting on that money. Yeah,
I didn't hear. Remember, but Walter wasn't into drugs. That's not his racket.
What were they moving like?
It didn't hurt Walter at all. Because that's been Walter's biggest thing is I'm not in.
Right. Yeah, they didn't move drugs. They had the ports.
Yeah,
they had the access to the ports that brought the stuff in. So they moved drugs just on a higher level. You know.
Yeah, Dahlia didn't hurt him, but Dahlia just proved that it hurt him. It hurt his ego. Yeah, because his daughter was making more money, making more moves than his son was.
That's it. We get Chico. Before all this, we get Chico, who says he's one of Julio's boys from Queens, and then the drive-by happens. Tommy gets shot because he took a bullet for Miguel. Miguel quickly acknowledges and respects him.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move on really quick to this. Tommy took a bullet to the gut. Didn't D-Mac take almost the exact same bullet to the gut?
Definitely.
Why was Tommy recovered like in minutes? D-Mac got sepsis and almost died twice from that same bullet. Tommy giving Vin Diesel vibes here, Joe.
Yeah. So question to the audience, because we haven't really talked to y'all that much during the show. Did y'all to any extent think that Tommy was actually going to be hurt here to a point? Because he wasn't going to be killed. This is Tommy's show. But did you think Tommy would be hurt, that he would be on the shelves for a couple of episodes? Did anybody think that? Let me know in the comments below. Did y'all think that Tommy was going to have a wound that was going to sit him down for some episodes here? Let us know in the comments. But you're entirely right. I thought the way they shot that, I was like, yo, Tommy's hurt. I'm like, oh, shit.
My man got shot and walked away the next scene. No problem.
Yeah.
With a white beater on. I said, oh, shit. Like, come on, man. For real? I know D-Mac like, nigga, I took the same shot. Y'all almost killed me 3 times on that bullet.
Yeah. Yeah, but Maria was right there to patch him up. So, that's what it was. But I think, the most important thing here is that, one, we get a connection back to New York with Chico, who life was short-lived, by the way.
Exactly.
Also is the only person to acknowledge Tommy by his name. Everybody call him white boy and all this other stuff. So, there's that. But the drive-by by the Serbs are looking for retaliation. As I mentioned, Miguel respected that he took the bullet for him, and made sure he got patched up and whatnot. Going to the next scene, we get the U.S. attorney and the DEA basically putting the hammer down to not allow an assembled task force. So Stacy now asks the DOJ to get help for one to get one up and running here. So at this point now, you know,
it's bad when black people lean on the Department of Justice for help. Just understand this how bad that is.
It's interesting though. They said we got people in Washington, so you know we're getting ready to get into some political things, and maybe this is why they waited to influence. Yeah, because maybe there's still more characters they need to establish. But you know, when you start talking Washington, you start talking about the folks sitting in Capitol Hill and some of these other offices and whatnot. You know, I think there's a means of significance in terms of why they alluded towards folks in Washington. So we'll see. And maybe that is why the story of like law enforcement and the feds is slowly coming around, because they still need to establish so much more and whatnot. So speaking of Tommy and Miguel's sister Maria, flirting, getting patched up, as I mentioned, talking about each other's eyes, but it looks like she might be giving in to him a little bit here. She did say, I told you we're going to die soon. He said he did all this to see her again. But you know,
she blushed. Like
she blushed. She definitely blushed.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes is a little blush. At that point, I got you. It's over. It's over for Maria. She better leave her white doctor for a white drug dealer.
Yep.
As her grandmother called him, White Devil.
But as they mentioned, though, as a matter of fact, is this like one of the first times we've ever seen Tommy shot?
Yes, I think he was shot in the first Power series, but it was at the end of the season Tommy was shot. It's the first time I've seen someone recover from a gut shot this fast. I'll say that. I was expecting him to be shot in the shoulder or something. When they clearly showed him shot in his gut, I'm like, it's not an easy bullet wound to heal from.
Yeah.
But Maria couldn't search. You can't search in nobody's gut and pull out a bullet and be like, you're fine.
But they did mention Tommy's dangerous because he has nothing to lose, as I mentioned earlier. And the drive-by was all about territory, so we know this is what everybody's motive is now. Is everybody's trying to state their claim in terms of where they want to run their operations and whatnot. So Tommy asked Miguel about the Julio thing and asks, wait, how do you know Julio? And he says, well, he has eyes everywhere. So that's gonna be interesting. I mean, and it's the truth. I mean, listen, this is a Mexican family with connections to the cartel. Of course they got eyes everywhere, which to me, Lucas, and I know you've been saying this, you want a villain that's gonna stick around for seasons. Miguel may not be it. The grandma definitely is gonna have something with this.
But whoever the head is cartel.
And
that's
slow reveal. Yeah, slow reveal. I mean, you know, there's budgets for each season, so like whoever you have, as this
you gotta have Noma out there from the jump. You slowly reveal them as the big threat.
Yeah,
like we've seen it already in Ghosts. I think where we see that slow reveal where we understand the threat she is, but then by the end of the season you fully grasp how big of a threat this is. And I think that's what we're going in with the cartel, because again, you're not going to introduce them unless eventually as the season goes on we see just how big of a threat they are. And that was very interesting to see that whole club scene with Miguel where he's meeting with someone who clearly he feels he has to answer to.
We'll get there in a second. So grandma rolling up clean, by the way. Tommy tries to
be Tommy.
And clearly nobody likes white boys here. But you know, it's the thing is that they respect Tommy for what he do, just not his color. Just like his work. That's all it is.
The reverse here. The reverse here. So you respect his work, you respect his work ethic, but because of his color, it makes you doubt like everything about him. I know a lot of our Caucasian brothers and sisters don't watch Power, and this is probably why. Because boy, that Mary would be in your face right now about, so Tommy's being hated on just because he's white. Yes.
Your favorite reviewers are white.
No. Except for Kevin McCartney. I like him, but no one else.
No. Your favorite power reviewers. Shout out to our man Kevin McCartney.
Oh, yeah. Look, but they're husband and wife duo. They fully understand what it means to be white and being persecuted against. Well, because they clearly are two white people reviewing every black show humanly possible. They reviewed Empire. Like, dog, any white people that reviewed Empire, I give you so much credit. I mean, the point you set through anything with Juicy Smollett and Terrence Howard, I give you so much credit for.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see you
by week they did it at that.
Yeah, they did. I'm waiting to see you pop up on their channel, man.
Hey, I'm free. Whenever they want to get down, maybe they could get on one of these after shows that we're doing, and we could jump them on here, and we could have a grand old time.
Yeah, I would look forward to you conducting that. Going to the next, we got Claudia.
We're talk about Taylor Swift, and then we're gonna talk about power.
We got Claudia and Vic at some hole in the wall at some hole in the wall bar, which we all know the truth here, that those drinks that Vic getting $2 a glass. So listen, I ain't mad at him at all. Call it what you want. That's the best way.
12. I already know what you're drinking.
Yeah.
Because
but
the
Claudia,
rail of the rail that Vic is downing.
Yeah, well, yeah. But Claudia says something that's very important to Vic and says that all you do is run. You're just like Walter, as he says back to her. But also maybe a compliment to her if you think about it here. But the siblings meeting up to Claudia meeting up with Walter with Vic to try to console him and try to bring him back on didn't go quite as planned. As typical Flynn's siblings, they continue to clash. So there's that. Grandma next scene asks about Tommy. Miguel trusts him. He saves his life. But she's not so sold on Tommy, as she mentioned that he truly could be the catalyst to everything that we work for to be brought down. But she also tells Miguel, you need to have a meeting with the Serbs here. Wait, was it the Serbs she wanted him to have a meeting with? But he ended up going to have a meeting with the cartel or something.
I think it was the cartel, not the Serbs. She acknowledged the Serbs were a threat.
Yeah. They said you need to go have a meeting. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So anyway, so again, we go back to what's her name? Because it keeps slipping out of my head. Stacey Marks now. Stacey Marks meets this lady Lori now. Again, as we mentioned, going to Washington trying to ask for help. So this is where Lori is a part of the plan in terms of, because Lori and her connection to in terms of like establishing this task force. But what's interesting, the reason I even come back to this is because Lori was like, wait a minute, why was it denied in the first place? Oh, was it because they felt like you were suppressing the local law enforcements here? And so there's a couple of things I made from that. Is that one, that the civilians didn't feel like they could be properly protected on the street level, because you're going up to a Fed level in order to get like help on things that happen on the street level and whatnot. But also like because like you're automatically removing like the local PDs the opportunity to do their job here.
Yes,
which is interesting here. But before I talk about that, she says like, listen, she like Tommy could be the straight line to the cartel. Lori basically says if you can prove all that, then we can make something happen.
Yeah.
Let's not forget what you said earlier. I was gonna wait till now to say it in my notes, but let's not forget now earlier. Stacey Marks, her partner, is a cop. Is it possible that while they do have a relationship, that she does not trust or believe what they do on the street? Does she know that her partner could be crooked, could be involved in things, could be going about things outside of the lines, and why she's trying to go through the proper channels in doing so? Or is she trying to leverage all of that to get herself gained, which we know that's what cops on power do. They want that notoriety, say that I got the big dog. What do you make? What do you make with Stacey and her tactics right now?
I think it's just she does see Tommy as the pun intended, the big white whale. Someone who she could get that will put her name on the map. But I don't think necessarily that she would compromise her integrity to do so.
Yeah.
Because we've seen I want to say now twice this season where it's been a situation where it's a chance that the case could have went fed and she didn't put it there.
Yeah.
She wanted to handle it. I think she's controlling an extent that she wants to be the person who's responsible for bringing them down. But I also believe that she's not going to go out her way to ruin their lives is an odd way of putting it, because we understand what they've done, but ruin their lives. I don't see her doing that portion of it.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to move
she
on.
Looks like Marion Bowser.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
Just like Marion Bowser. Yeah.
Yes, she does. Let me get through the rest of these things because we're getting above our time per usual. As I gotta get back in the groove of things. It's so good. I got this. So Shanti is letting Shanti is being told that everyone's questioning Jenard and their loyalty towards Jenard because Jenard doesn't want to retaliate for Chewy's death. Jenard doesn't want to retaliate on Chewy's death because, well, Diamond told him not to, which was the right call. But his soldiers don't trust him because they're not doing what they want him to do. Nothing else to talk about with that. We've already discussed it. We got Diamond and Tommy again discussing their plans and how Tommy overheard the drop when their drop was going to happen with the Mexicans and whatnot. We get Vic at the liquor store getting another bottle of something trash, and he meets a random escort in the back of a liquor store, and they do the fuck nasty. But ultimately, we see Vic
like who's getting raw head from just a random girl at a
I don't even have
liquor store.
I only had the energy for it.
Like, for real? Is that what we doing? Like,
Chicago might be a wild place. Chicago out here looking
wild in Chicago, Joe.
Chicago
y'all been wild
like
since Kanye was wearing 2 polos. Like, y'all been wild since then.
Chicago looking like some of them off the strip locations in Vegas right now. Like, you never know what you're gonna get clearly here. But the whole point of this scene, which is completely unnecessary, is just to show that Vic is unhinged. He robs the place for some short change. This prostitute gets $50, and that's it. Vic then gets in his car, gets pulled over 1,000% drunk, and we get Vic talking trash, talking about something. I know y'all on my payroll. I'm sure y'all getting paid by the Flins. Where we get 2 cops. One tasers him, one hesitates. It should be noted that while they did mention last episode that there was a bunch of people corrupt, much like that other dude that was pressing them out for money, that they still got folks on the book, because that other cop 1,000% was like, nope. I'm not.
But this is another case of why Vic can't be a leader.
Okay.
He got pulled over, and the first thing he said is, "Did you know who my father is? I'll have all your jobs." Like, that's the first thing he said when he got pulled over, basically. "Did you know who my dad is? I'll have all your jobs." Like, come on, man. If Claudia would have got pulled over, Claudia would have been a G about it. I'm not telling you nothing. Put me in jail, see what happens next. But again, this is part of the reason why it's kind of comical that Walter would even lean back on Vic. There's no need for it.
He trying his hardest, man. But I mean, again, that's it's just like Game of Thrones, man. This is what
you keep on telling me Game of Thrones, but all I know about Game of Thrones is that it was a cripple who ended up having to throw it to him.
How about House of Dragon? Did you watch that? Okay, don't worry about it. Just take some time.
All I know of Game of Thrones is that brother.
Actually, honestly, if you're really clueless about the analogy here, just watch the first episode of the House of Dragon. Like,
and Ice King. I know Ice King. I like Ice King a lot.
What is that?
Ice King from Game of Thrones.
I like
Ice King a lot.
He's just called Ice King, right?
Yeah, he had the little horns. Man, he got killed by Little Stabby. I don't know her name. Little Stabby killed him, but I love the Ice King.
Yeah, his name is Night King, by the way, but it's okay. it's okay. But yeah, watch the House of the Dragon first episode. We'll clear that all up for anybody who's questioning here. Let me get through some of the other stuff now. Again, we got Miguel going to report up as they have their meeting in the club. We're gonna make it very clear. Miguel has been presented as a boss all the way up into this this point of the episode. Miguel very much is a soldier, folks.
He's Tony Sunshine from Terror Squad.
He is not permitted to move on the Serbs. And if you do, terrible things is going to happen to his sister. And while there's two parts to this, Miguel not answering back does make his unit look weak for not striking back. But as I mentioned, everything has action and reactions, even if there are things and people that they can't account for. And much like Boss told him here, you know, you can't do this because you're going to mess up my possibility in my pipeline and what I need.
Yeah.
And our money. So while
very
you're
interesting
looking at
that they point that out.
While you're looking at your ego and whatnot, the money is what matters here. The money is all that matters. So I think this is one of the most important scenes of the episodes in terms of understanding the landscape of all of Chicago. While you have somebody, Miguel, who's been built up to be strong, everyone's CBI's answering to him, Treason's answering to him, Jenard's group, and then you got him being called a soldier. Just a soldier.
I think it was very interesting because I think at one point we get Diamond, who actually brings up the point that they know Miguel answers to someone.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
So in other words, he's let me say this in a proper way here. I'm about to say Bebop and Rocksteady is the equivalent of Miguel, but that is not right. It's the Fly from the latest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, where he's a boss in his own mind, and because it's portrayed that way to everyone else, the cartel, even though they all understand the cartel's in charge, there's no face that you can pinpoint. I think that's the most important part.
I haven't seen the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, but it's okay because no, wait. But you're talking about the Fly, so you obviously talk about in the live action one who Tyler Perry was, like Baxter Stockman, right? The nerd, the Fly, like the
he's not the Fly in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
No, in the live action one, Tyler Perry is
the old Fly.
Baxter Stockman,
the Michael Bay one.
Yes.
That don't count as the Ninja Turtles movies. They were 8 feet tall. They were 8 feet Ninja Turtles. 8 feet. Like that's not a Ninja Turtles movie. Those were aliens. I don't know what type of aliens they were. They were alien looking turtles.
Continue. We have 7 minutes.
And they had Tyler Perry. You're the one who brought up Tyler Perry in the Ninja Turtles movie. Okay,
you brought up the Fly.
I try to forget everything Tyler Perry has done that's not a Tyler Perry movie. Okay, he was in Gone Girl too. I never bring that up ever in life. He was in Star Trek. I really never bring that up ever in life. Like, it's certain things you don't bring up, and it's Tyler Perry acting in non-Tyler Perry movies.
Yeah. Okay. I'll continue. So the Serbs go to see Jenard, and they want the projects, and they said continue making the payments until we get the pipeline. And we get Jenard being questioned by one of his soldiers saying, well, I thought that bread was for Miguel. What are we going to do now? Anyway, we get Diamond. All right, so listen. If anybody at this moment thought that Diamond truly got arrested, you're completely silly. You just wasn't paying attention. But I will say, what should be note is that I don't think we're going to see Freddie Gibbs again. They did mention right before this that I'm sorry, right after this that when Jenard was talking to Shanti that CBI got Gary, Indiana on lock, so maybe we don't see Freddie Gibbs again, but we just see Jenard again truly.
Is it because his name changed?
Who?
Freddie. Because his name changed?
What do you mean?
Because no one wants to talk about him since he's been called Spready Gibbs. So since then, they've left Freddie. they left Freddie alone since he was named Spready Gibbs. So maybe that's why. Maybe they're like, nah, you doing what? Nah, man, you can't be on Power no more.
Yeah.
50 was even clowning him. So they probably left that alone and said, nope.
Yeah. Maybe that's how, that's how they wrote them all. But Jenard getting that money now, so much like so he had to give her the deed in order to pay her back.
That Tubi movie? You know, I paid for all of this.
Yeah.
With my
this dick. If y'all know what clip we talking about, just ask us in the comments. I swear. But yeah, we again, if you under any circumstance thought that Diamond was getting arrested, you just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah,
clearly, but whatever. So Shanti giving Jenard the loan, as she says, you win, we win. So she's just invested in her guy. Anyway, moving to the more important things now. Vic gets bailed out. Walter's there. And you know, he apologized for Gloria finally, and he said he fucked up, but he says he needs him to come back. And he says, only if Claudia's out, I'm not working with her. Vic is just, as always, very emotional. Did you make anything of that, of him just saying he wanted Claudia? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but like, what did you think? Like him saying Claudia out, like, did you think? Did you see a plan with that, or was he just reacting?
It was straight reaction. There's no plan, because Claudia is the one who actually knows how to run the business. That would be the last person I would want out of it. Is the person who actually knows how to run it. Vic is just, and this is the foolishness of Walter also, is that you even allow Vic to make that call. Yeah.
So Tommy and Diamond, they steal Miguel's shipment, but also making it look like it was the Serbs here. I hated the scene because I did because
it wasn't executed well.
It didn't look good. Like Tommy being ID'd
was horrible, Joe.
Yeah,
my God,
Tommy getting ID'd. It was like Tommy, and he got ran over. I just thought it wasn't.
That whole run over scene was bad. I don't get why would he take his mask off? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Tommy became a James Bond villain.
Yeah.
Mr. Bond, you want to know who's killing you and you take the mask? Like, nigga, you really didn't have to show me who you was.
Yeah.
Like, it made no sense.
It just really didn't. Yeah, y'all let us know what y'all thought about that scene. I just definitely was not. Yeah. But anyway, Claudia comes in and kirks on Walter, talking about she deserved this. And then, as we mentioned, all episode, this entire recap review here, Walter lets her know, you're not a man, you never will be. And Claudia just wants what she deserves, but
she was broken.
For sure. And this should be the beginning of the Claudia unhinged arc, like truly. So yeah. What else we got here?
I think that's it. Claudia turning on Walter. We talked about everything with Jenard and them. The end of the episode is possibly the last part to focus on here.
Oh yeah. So last two things. Miguel now at the drop. Everyone is killed. The product is gone, but obviously now Miguel is able to establish that the Serbs are the one to blame, as the stage was seen. But I think another thing that should be noticed, that Diamond talking to Tommy about all this and asked him, does death bother him? And he said, yes, sometimes. So, like, a little bit of heart still there in Tommy.
Ghost, true. Keisha, Holly. I'm trying to think of another woman who got killed because of Tommy. Death clearly bothers Tommy.
Yeah. But as he mentioned, it says Cash is alive. But the whole thing is that, like, they're doing all this because they want to get close to the cartel, who is ran by Shay. So, like, this is their whole point of doing everything they did. Shanti also lets Jenard know that the crew doesn't trust him. Vic goes to Gloria's grave and declares that she's going to take Walter down from the inside. And then we get the final scene where little K tries to take out Tommy, which is definitely a direct order which was against the direct order to stand down.
Against the direct order.
Yeah, but kills this little girl. And at the same scene of this innocent young girl that was out, DeFranco agrees to help the U.S. attorney and Stacey Morris to get her task force. And Vic tells
one black life. Yeah. One young black life, and you get a task force.
Yep. And that's it. That's the episode. So much happened, so much we covered. I don't know if there's anything we missed. Y'all can let us know in the comments below. Lucas, anything that you want to say or anything that we should cover before we roll out? I'm trying to think, because this episode was definitely
on Claudia. This entire episode, I love the arc they're going with this character. I'm more interested to see are they going to go and take her full, like, cold-blooded, because that's very needed with her reaction to a lot of things in this episode here. But again, this is the setup episode. This is the precursor. This is kind of why a lot of shows do episodes 1 and 2 together, because it's just enough to get you back intrigued into what these characters are. And that's what we got out of this episode, just in case people forgot certain things about certain characters here. All of it was laid out in the forefront of exactly who these characters are in this episode.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I'm very interested to see Claudia's story arc going beyond this. I want to see the cartel's presence at some point of the season. I'm hoping that they save that until like episode 10 to make it more impactful, but to continue to build up the threat. Same with Devlin. I want to see how the pills are going to be moved. I want to see Vic just completely self-destruct. And then obviously I want to see law enforcement become a staple. Right now we just see them doing a lot of background work, but I want to see what they're actually going to do. Listen, this little girl being killed, and I mean this in all due respect, we've seen The Chi, especially season 1 when The Chi was hot, and we've seen how murders in Chicago it creates buzz within the streets, but it never really makes up anything. You know, the killer that killed the little boy, the guy, I forget his name, I forget all the characters' names, I haven't watched in a while. He was just out and about for a long time. The streets had to do their work in order to make it about something. So while this little girl death seems like a thing, I don't make nothing of it in terms of the law enforcement.
They just got a task force.
They get their task force. Will the streets retaliate? Because that's the one thing that's off limits is kids. Will there be any level of street retaliation from this?
When people say kids are off limits, they're lying most times, because kids are more than on limits. But they'll tell you kids are off limits. I mean, I don't think that's it here. I think this is just a dominant play that we're about to be seeing pulled by either Jenard. Well, no, I'm gonna say Jenard. He got to pull a power. He eventually has to pull a power play. If he does not, he's not going to survive.
Listen. Tommy saw who do it. We all know it was Lil K. Somebody's going to have to do something. It's going to be a knowledge. Who will do something will be the biggest question. Will it be Jenard? Will it be Tommy? Will it be Diamond? You all can let us know your predictions below. Who will retaliate from this little girl?
Tasha comes back to respond.
Yeah, Tariq comes through with Braden. Yeah.
Effie makes her transition to force.
It's definitely Effie.
Rock is still alive. We're gonna name things that's going on.
Yeah.
But again, this is a very solid episode on a reintroduction to the other characters beyond the main cast. And just a setup, which will be, I think, an explosive episode 3.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it. We'll wrap it up right there, folks. We'll be back next week. We'll be back with our live review. You know, all that other stuff. We got all that going.
Shout out to the husband and wife duo. Look, Big Gold Belt. We'll have our team reach out to you all about coming on here and doing these power reviews with us.
Lucas, managing member.
Hey, Terrell.
All the reaching out.
Terrell, our PR. And public communications person Terrell will reach out to you all to try to get you all to come on. So So we can do this. Hey,
There's
reach out
that.
to Mark Dark too. I mean, he's not going to show his face, but we'll reach out to him and see his and hear his computerized voice.
Yeah, movie bot too. Also, don't show
There you
their
go.
face.
Hey, definitely movie bot. That would be fucking hilarious, Joe.
Nah, we got more people. We got more people lined up. Y'all don't have to worry about
course
that.
we
And
do.
if there's
But
anybody
again-
that y'all want to see us collaborate with, y'all get in the comments. Let us know. We'll make it happen. Get on their channel. Get on their social media. At them. Let them know that we're trying to work. We want to have people on each and every week. We're going to make it happen. Y'all do your part. We'll do our part.
More
and we'll be
content,
back.
the better for us with
Yep.
power, so you all can get everything y'all been asking for. Even
Yep,
maybe
yep.
a canonical studies breakdown. The Force. How?
Yeah. About that. Anywho, we'll see y'all back next week. Thank y'all for tuning in. And as always, y'all be safe. And thank you for another episode of our recap review of Power Book 4 Force. And this has been episode 2. See y'all back soon.
I keep